All right, Matt Ganningers, we are back for, in my opinion, one of my favorite tournaments of the year. Always seem to get some guys in the mix at the Wyndham. Tragically, Russell Henley, way back in the day, one of the foundational devastations, I would say, in my golf betting career was here because I didn't just have Russ that year. I had I had like 4 other guys who were like in the mini leaderboard with like 9 holes to go. Did not work out. We've got Olympics to recap. Quite the event. Then we'll get to Wyndham. But first of all, how are you doing? And welcome back.
Yeah, this should be a fun one because last week was obviously a great watch, and then Wyndham's always. Although I feel like it should get a better field on a yearly basis because it's always a fun event, good golf course, but schedule wise is before the playoffs every year, so you're not going to get every name. So yeah, it was a fun week of golf. I'm doing great, and I'm hyped to get into the next week in playoffs.
Yeah, let's just dive on into the Olympics because I think going into the Olympics, we talked about it last week on the pod. Overall, and tell me if you agree with this, I think we were higher on the Olympics as like a important event or something that will matter for guys' careers in the long run because, as I said last week, you don't know what something's going to be like, what people are going to think of an event, 20 years down the road. Right. But I just tend to think that the Olympics is going to increase in importance over the years. And especially as who knows what happens with the Live PGA Tour. It seems like things are as far apart, as they have ever been. The longer that happens and the fewer times where all the golfers get together, I think those events are just going to increase in importance. So I think we were high on the Olympics coming into it, and it definitely delivered.
Yeah, as you can see, I'm actively trying to get the two back together, wearing my Live hat for support. But yeah, it was a great event. We were so high on it going into the weekend. I think the entire community kind of had that take after the Olympics was finished. And on Sunday, I was seeing a bunch of fifth major tweets. I don't think we can call it the fifth major. I think it's its own thing. It happens once every 4 years, but not in a bad way. Like it's the Olympics. Like it deserves to be treated as such. So the golf course was phenomenal. Golf course that we see once a year over on the DP, and we know how it plays. We know what it can lead to. It can lead to birdies, and it can lead to bogeys down the stretch. And we saw that yesterday. So it was phenomenal from Thursday or Wednesday night, whatever, to Sunday morning. A beautiful watch, and I'm sure you had some sweats and enjoyed a lot of it too.
Yeah, I had been staying up super late last week, even though I knew the golf was coming. I should have been better prepared for the early wake ups because the first couple of days of the event, I'm not going to lie, I didn't see a ton. I saw a reasonable amount on Friday morning, and the 18th hole I tweeted about it. The 18th hole on Friday morning was as elite as a final hole could possibly get. I think almost 20% of the field made double bogey or worse. Like you never see that on any hole, let alone the final hole.
Yeah.
And I think it was weird because like it was always obviously a tough hole, and bogey was always, if you missed the fairway to the right, that was going to be a challenge no matter what. But I think it had something to do with that Friday pin on the front right, where like more guys on the layup were getting in trouble because it was such a small target. And I think guys thought they could get aggressive to that pin, but we'll obviously talk Scottie and the rest of the guys here in just a second. But I think Le Golf National was another star of the week, and it's obviously was a star of the Ryder Cup. It's one that people always remember just because of how unique the setup was and how like big of an advantage it was to the Europeans. We see it every year on the DP. I think we're going to see it again later this year, but I want to start off by shouting out Le Golf National and specifically that final stretch and specifically 18 because it's just good.
Yeah, and like this is similar to what we saw the last time Le Golf National hosted a golf tournament. Brian sent the screenshot in the chat. Like Jordan was up by 7 on Rio with a few holes left. And if you looked at a screenshot of Rahm up by 4, I'm not sure exactly where Scottie was at that point, but just shows the volatility that the golf course can present. We saw Nicolai shoot 62. Scottie obviously go low. Nicolai shot 62, right, on Saturday?
Yeah, I think Detry, I don't know if he was 62 or 63, but each day there was a guy who like
there was a guy, and a Decky on
day
Thursday.
1, Detry day 2, Nicolai day 3.
And then you see the opposite, like you can totally like shoot 40 on a 9, and it's a golf course that does obviously that can happen on a few places, but it doesn't happen often. And when that happens, it's beautiful. This 20 under was far better than or whatever it was. Rahm got to 20 at one point. Then Valhalla's 20 under. Just 2 different tests of golf. That although the scoring was the same, it was just an amazing golf course, and I'm happy that we get to see it on an annual basis. I think what could happen, I don't think it's far fetched, is get one of these other co-sanctioned events, but make the French Open co-sanctioned. Like, why not? Because what we
Yeah,
saw this year, everyone's gonna love that.
especially with the condition that it was in this time. I think it was wet leading into the tournament. It probably could have been even cooler if it was normal summer
Not
Paris
rainy, yeah.
conditions. But like, yeah, and we talked about this last week too. You could easily do something where it's like Scottish Open, and then you go play the French or something like that, because
Yeah.
it's
Fun
a
little
course that
stretch.
people like. It's gaining in like popularity each time it hosts one of these big events. So shout out Le Golf National. Shout out to the
And the
good
crowds were
people.
freaking awesome, and they can have a ton
Yeah.
of people in there.
And
Awesome.
it helped that Big Dick Vic Perez came flying home with a 63
My
there
God.
in the final round.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him in a second. But coming into the week, and we talked about it last week, you were like, this is a guaranteed Scottie win type of course. I didn't necessarily see it that way. And I think both kind of came true, honestly, like with how
Yeah.
the tournament played out. Like through
Yeah.
pretty much the whole tournament, it was looking like a classic Scottie week where he plays really good. He gains infinity tee to green, but he can't make any putts, and that ends up keeping him from winning. And I thought he'd be on the medal stand, but I thought the putting would keep him just short. And then you look below him, and Tommy, Hideki, and Perez, who finished second, third, and fourth, all gained over 4.5 putting and were really riding hot putters. Like, that's not specifically Hideki's game, but sometimes he gets hot on these surfaces,
Right.
and especially like these type of faster bent, and putts well. But Scottie with probably, I mean, do you think this was a better final round than the Players? Because I do.
Yeah, I do too. Also, like I think this one was less, I guess, lucky because he got that hole out on the Players. Like he was just striping, and he didn't hit any like amazing shots that were. He hit that 1 to 13 inches, but he was just making putts, just playing solid golf. He wasn't looking like he was overly aggressive. Just we don't really see this version of like scorched earth Scotty that much. It's more just like steady 4 under rounds, 4 under rounds, 4 under rounds. But when he does that, it's so fun. And yeah, so I thought he was gonna win. I thought it would be more of like he'd be leading the whole time rather than to come back with a 62. But it was a stroke away from panning out almost entirely how I pictured it and wanted it to be. So shout out Scotty. I definitely made some money on him in some markets. So another great week for him, and I feel like I'm pretty dialed in the process right now.
Yeah, I mean, he lost strokes putting in the first 3 rounds, and I saw. I mean, Friday was his worst putting round. He lost 2.2 on Friday, and
Well, you
I
said
maybe
that going into Sunday.
yeah, maybe it was in the Discord, maybe it was somewhere like he on Friday, and I think I saw Smiley tweet about this after the event too. He started bringing Ted Scott in on like every read on Friday. And I think if you look at Scotty's putting history, and we talked about it last week, he tends to lose strokes the first time that he goes to a course. And I've always thought, even though he, switched from the blade to the mallet, and there was obviously some like technical things wrong with his putting, I always thought his stroke looked fine enough. Like he always burned a lot of edges. He always came close to making putts. I think his green reading is probably the weakness of all of the things that he's good at. Like in being a golfer, green reading is probably where it is the weakest for Scottie. And so he starts bringing Ted Scott in over the weekend, putts a little better on Saturday, and then made pretty much everything for the most part on Sunday, gained 1.6, especially on that back nine. He pretty much made every putt that he had to make. And I think you look at that, him and Tommy on 17 basically had the exact same putt. Scotty's was for birdie and Tommy's was for par, but they both had that 20-footer kind of coming up the hill. Scotty makes his, Tommy misses, loses by 1. But yeah, when it comes to a guy in the final round who can just go scorched earth, Scotty's obviously that guy. That like there's no one else who can pull off what Scotty did.
You don't want to see
yesterday.
his name behind you for sure.
But the weird thing is, it's like going into that final round, obviously Xander was tied for the lead. Xander, for all measure over the summer, had kind of been the more consistent player across the board, just the ability to make putts and do things. And that's what he had been throughout the whole tournament. And then you get into that final round and it gets set up where I didn't see much of the first 9 holes, I would say. I don't know if you were watching, but it just seemed like Xander, that issue that we've talked about him before that I always bring up with him is, can he hit the fairways in the final round when it matters most? It appeared that he couldn't. And that opened the door for what Scottie always can do, is drive it down the middle in these crucial driving tests. It was very much a replay of the Players, kind of how Xander played that final round versus how Scottie played that final round. Obviously, Xander ended up kind of imploded and mailed it in down the stretch, but it was, I don't even know what the take I'm building up towards is, but like it was the perfect example of the weakness of Xander popping up in that final round and the weakness of Scottie not popping up in that final round. And that's what caused them to like switch on the leaderboard. But it was awesome to see kind of the 2 big names of the season and battling for who has the better season, all coming to that final round. And obviously Scottie claims it with that final round, but going into the final round, I think it's set up for, it's not very often you get like the 2 big names of the year going into the final round where it kind of could go
Right.
either way in a big event. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I didn't even like after you saying that, I definitely should have clipped me saying a generic take. I think this is going to be TPC Sawgrass, like in Europe. So we said that on our pod last week. But Xander on the front nine, he didn't play as bad as in the back nine, obviously, but he had problems with the keeping the ball in the fairway kind of all week. And I just think he ran out of gas. Like, I'm not faulting Xander at all. He's played as good as anyone this year. And it's just like he had a bad round. Like Scottie's had a few bad rounds this year. They both probably had similar amount of bad rounds this year. He had a bad round. Maybe like my take going into the week was defending champ, defending open champ. So much pressure. Maybe the pressure got to him on Sunday because he did not look like himself, but who knows? Just a bad round. I don't think we can really fault Xander. Scottie player of the year. I know you agree with that now. But you never didn't agree with it. We both were like in the camp of whoever does better here. This is the parameter. Like if Xander were to have won this event, even with the Scottie having more wins, I still think he would have been player of the year.
Yeah, and I think it's just for me with Scottie's. Obviously, he's won so many times this year. It's not to me his wins in the signature events aren't as meaningful as winning those events historically when they were full field events and they had all the players in them. So I had already kind of knocked those down a touch in my mind. So I do think, yeah, going into the final round, if Xander had won, I think it would have been a slam dunk that he was the player. You win two majors and a gold medal. My question, I've seen people talking about this, and I think it's an interesting question, is would Scottie trade his gold medal and his players and maybe even all of his signature events for another major this year? Any of the other majors?
No, I don't think so. Because
you think when we look back on Scott, I think the gold medal switched it for me. I think he would have traded all of his players and signature events for another major because, like, at the end of the day, when we look back on Scottie's career in 20 years, the first thing we're going to talk about is how many majors he won. I think the gold medal flips it, but was the gold medal that crucial, basically, where you think he would have traded everything before, or do you still think he would have kept his players and his signature events and kept his only the Masters this year?
I can see maybe if it was out without the Olympics, he would trade it, but with the Olympics, no chance. Because even then, like they still talk about Tiger winning X amount of times before June, where Scottie did that. Like that still comes up. The wins aren't forgotten. So he accomplished what he accomplished. It was a great run of golf in that short amount of time. I do not think he would have traded it for the other major or whatever. So it could be. I could see the argument though, obviously, but I don't think he would have.
Yeah, I think the gold medal. I think he would have. I genuinely think he would have for majors just because like they're majors. But the gold medal matters. The gold medal is like a different tier, and I think this Scottie winning, and it probably would have been true, I guess, with most of these big names in the mix. This should only increase the importance of the Olympics going forward. Like the winners now are Rose, who's obviously dog and won a major, won the U.S. Open. Xander is continually becoming more of a dog, and who knows how many majors he ends his career with and successes. And then it's obviously Scottie is Scottie. Like this should only make 2028 in LA at Riv sick. Like everything.
I mean, and this field was awesome. Like we got the best Olympic field. The drama was unreal all week. Starting with Sammy Velimaki fucking on Thursday, down to Scottie Scheffler fucking on Thursday. What else would you want? So 2028 will be immaculate in LA, and everyone said great things. Like I listened to, there wasn't a ton of interviews online, but on TV that they had interviews after with the players, and they all were like blown away. Like I've never heard players like be like that, like dumbfounded and just in awe of the golf course and just the whole situation. So it was a great sign.
And this is what everybody's talking about, and I think if Scottie was tied, let's say Scottie makes his big comeback. Obviously, he needed Rahm to fall apart to even have a chance to win. Because if Rahm would have just played normal golf, he would have had no chance, no matter how amazing his final round was. I think once he realized that it was basically him against Tommy with like 3 or 4 holes left, he was like, it's over. Like Scottie knew at that point, this is over. I've got it. And that allowed him to continue to play aggressively down the last few holes. Because people are asking, Tommy Fleetwood silver medal, good for his career or bad for his career? You're the career assessment guy. What's the stance on Tommy's silver medal?
I don't even think he cares. Like he just happy that he won the silver medal. Like he didn't. I don't think he knew or had a chance to win that event, or he knew that he had a chance to win that event. But we were in Europe, a golf course that he's played well on, and I was getting the feeling because I only bet in the without Scottie market without the big name, so I was sweating Hideki versus Tommy, and I was like, there's no way Hideki's winning this event. I mean, there's no way Tommy's winning this event, but he keeps making every damn putt to stay around second, first, third, where Hideki could just never get above him. And obviously, Hideki's going to miss some putts. He's freaking Hideki, but he did play great. But Tommy would not miss anything. And then when he would get on a little lull, he made a bomb. And then he did it again on Sunday. I was like, seriously, this guy won't go away, but never for a chance. Because someone texted me, how can we hedge this? Because we had this in the without market. I'm like, should we bet Tommy outright? I'm like, he has zero chance to win. So I don't know how you want to go about betting this, hedging this. So I just kind of waited out on Sunday. But it was a tough watch because I knew Tommy wasn't going to win, but I really just wanted him to finish second. And there was never a chance where I thought that it was going to switch because I figured Tommy was just going to stronghold that second place so thoroughly, which he did.
Did Decky really hit 100% of the greens in the final round? That's what the stats are telling.
I do not remember him missing a green. But the thing that killed him on Sunday was he hit it to greenside on 3 par 5s, all the par 5s on Sunday, and didn't get one of them up and down. Like I was like, that hurt.
Scottie hit some insane shots, obviously, to shoot the back nine that he did at that course. The second shot that he had, in my opinion, was the chip that he hit on the par 5 on 14.
When he had the same one, yeah.
Yeah, and his was even harder because he was even higher up the hill and like the deep rough. And I'm sure, obviously, the iron shot he hit on 17 was sick, but it must have been lying good enough for him to like it and 18. But like both of those lies must have been at least solid enough to hit those shots. There was times this week where the lies just you wouldn't have been able to execute that. So you give Scottie at least some lie. He's only 160 out. I've seen him hit those shots plenty of times. His chip to get it up and down on that par 5, which he kind of had to do because to keep the momentum going, he needed to birdie that par 5. That could have gone anywhere. Like Hideki barely got his on the green, and he had a
Rahm didn't either.
Tap-in. Yeah, Rahm didn't either, and he had a legitimate tap in. I think that was the
insane.
And it goes back to we know Scottie's around the green play is unbelievable, but like that shot was a joke, and I think everybody will remember kind of those iron shots he hit. 16 obviously hit it in there close, but I had to point to a shot that was like, oh shit, Scottie might actually like do that. And then obviously on 15 he hit it to like tap in range, but he needed to birdie the par 5 in my opinion for him to keep that momentum, because you miss out on that par 5. I don't know if he birdies 15, 16, 17 riding that kind of wave. Like that up and down was
the shot on 17, the control was absurd because I'm sure you're watching. He was like, he looked into the crowd or the ball. Sorry. He said, go. Like, I thought he was going to be short right up that slope because it's kind of steep up there and it's sticky.
Most guys came up short there.
And then Tommy, after that, he hit it pure and it rocketed over. Like, Scottie hit it so high and soft and it landed like a normal shot and just rolled to 17 feet. I was like, is this guy, like, he was yelling go. And I was like, this has to get there because I was rooting for Scottie down the stretch. And then it was, I was just like in awe. I was like, seriously, this guy again. And it was just nuts. One of the best shots I've ever seen.
Yeah. And as you said, I was rooting for Xander going in the final round because I thought Xander had the best chance of the American golfers to win. And I thought it'd be cool if Xander won. But Scottie does it for America too, which historically Scottie has not done it for America. He's been pretty bad in the Ryder Cups and not the best in the team competitions. So great to see Scottie get the job done for America as well there and boost us up in the medal count. I think we're on the cusp now of moving ahead of China in the gold medal count with
it's close. Yeah, I'm not sure if you were aware, but I have a hefty ticket on a Scottie Nelly parlay. So I pulled the trigger.
Nelly's like broken though, right? She's cuts anymore.
I don't know anything about her but I was like,
want to know where you will hear about the LPGA this week, Jers? That's in the Discord.
Where can I know about that?
Yeah, LPGA? You can know about that in the Discord. We didn't get a winner last week, but we were in the final group. I believe. Yeah,
150 to 1. 150 to 1.
Yeah. So shout out Extended Wrist again with a good call there. And now we all I'm going to be in there this week, providing some thoughts too, just because we've seen the course now, and like we kind of know what we're looking for. So excited
They're
for
already
that.
ripping it in the chat. They
Yeah,
gave a whole like nice little rundown. I
I
screenshotted it
think
already.
it's Wednesday start, right? This week, because the Olympics end on Saturday. So women should be sick. Like and subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube, as always, leave us a 5-star review if you're so inclined. If you don't think it's worth 5 stars, then that's totally cool too. On Spotify or Apple, if you're listening there, and then as always, $9.99 for the site, $34.99 for the monthly. With I think this August we talked up July, and it was a good month of July. From a golf
Great.
watching perspective, and August should be sick as well. Like I said, Wyndham, I think, is one of the easy. It's never easy, but one of the more straightforward tournaments to figure out like the type of players that you're
You've
looking
been
for.
solid at that course. Like Wyndham and
Yeah,
Rocket might be like your like summer
yeah,
vibes.
yeah.
Everyone knows that.
And then obviously we got the playoffs coming up. I think we got a live event. Who knows? Maybe the DP. They're going to start playing again on the DP at some point.
Who knows?
Who knows when they'll get going? But get in the Discord. Get in the conversation. And so officially, your stance on Tommy is fine for his career on winning the silver medal.
Fine for his career. Yeah, I'm not mad. He didn't necessarily gag it. So fine for his career.
Mine would be
He played solid up until 71.
I would say like he played solid, especially considering Xander and Rom were like
he was striping.
Were falling apart around him. The chip he hit on 17 was borderline unprofessional, though. Like, what was he doing? That chip on 17.
Yeah. I think
he made it seem like it wasn't that close to the collar. Like it was kind of close, but not that close. Even
he hit it on the backswing.
Yeah, when he like stood, even standing over it at first, I was like, this looks weird. Like, why is he leaning so far forward? Like, what's going on with his stance? And obviously, we can't see what the slope is back there. But John Wood made it sound like this is a pretty straightforward chip, with the exception of there being a little rough behind his ball. That chip to me was, he didn't choke it, obviously, because Scottie was probably going to win even if they did go to a playoff. That chip was really, really bad.
Well, when he didn't get it up and down, when he didn't make birdie on the par 5, that's when I really thought like, oh boy, this
and
Scottie's
he hit such a good. His 3-wood looked like it was going straight at the pin, but
the 5-wood. He should have taken a 3-wood.
Yeah,
he got unlucky with that lie. Yeah.
The guy who I was have talked about quickly is Rom. I only saw the back 9, so I woke up and saw there's up by 4 shots, and I was like, oh, it's going to be Rom. Like that makes sense. Yep. But then he pulled the Jordan Smith on the back 9, and I think the hole that stands out, and we just talked about it standing out for Scottie getting up and down. We just talked about it for Tommy not getting up and down. Rom on the par 5s this year is incompetent. What is he doing on the par 5s? In my opinion, it kept him out of the mix at the Open. We talked about it on here when he made that boneheaded decision to not drive it over the burn at Troon. You've talked about watching him on Live this year, and he's always fucked up the par 5s. He still should have won, even going to the par 5. If he makes birdie on the par 5, he's back in business. Like, it should be fine. But no, he doesn't even just not make birdie. He made double bogey on the par 5. The only double bogey of the entire week, I believe, is what the announcer said. Like, how? Like, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been pretty on brand for what Jon Rahm has been doing. It's just been such stupid things, and he's been so close to winning literally every event he's teed up in 2024. And it's been stupid shit like this that I'm happy the world is seeing it, because I've been saying for the last month that Jon Rahm is just doing stupid ass stuff. And I don't know what the answer is. Like, you have beef with Adam Hayes.
Yeah, I was about to say, this was first, and apparently I didn't see there was another moment where the number was wrong or something, and Rom like got super pissed at Hayes.
I think he went in the water on the par 3.
A bad caddy, I'm convinced. I'm going to stand by that take. And so Rom, let's get a new caddy on Rom's bag for 2025. That's my take.
How many wins would Rom have on Live if Ted Scott was his caddy?
He'd win every event, probably.
We've talked about Rory now after.
I quickly want to touch on Rom just because he fucked up the par 5s, and I wanted another chance to, because I think each week my Hayes take is increasing in potential legitimacy. Like, can somebody point me to?
And once we've realized like that I brought it to the attention that he's been doing stupid shit, we've kind of dialed in on Adam Hayes, and like that could be the problem.
And never forget who wasn't on the bag on Monday practice round at Troon. Hayes. He had something better to do apparently than caddy for John. So tough one for John. He obviously wanted to win the Olympics. It would have mattered to John probably as much as it would have mattered to
Right.
most of anybody else in the field. But yeah, Rory. Rory was birding every hole because, like I said, I woke up and kind of did the back nine, and Rory was birding every hole that I was watching. And then he got to 15, which should just be a pretty straightforward hit in the fairway and then wedge it somewhat close. Obviously not a routine wedge shot with the water there, but also it wasn't like the ball was zipping back too often for guys into the water. He goes into the water, Jers. I actually think it was better for Rory that he didn't win or didn't get some sort of medal, because then we would have had to forever debate, like, how does this matter versus the fact that he can't win majors anymore. So I'm not going to be as hard on him because I think it actually was slightly better for his career that this happened, but it was still incredibly stupid. My dad, first text I got from him the day was, "What is Rory doing?" Because all the common golf fan, they see Rory, they see him charging. It's just unserious. It's just unserious.
No, I actually have beef with Rory because I tweeted on a Saturday or Sunday. Do you think his playing partners laugh at or like look in the air and be like, "What the fuck?" when Rory hits a wedge? Because I don't know how they are so bad. My take is that because I kind of got this take from playing golf this morning with someone else. Like they were like trying to do so much with the wedge, like to take it back all the way, come inside and do it. Whereas like I'm a fine golfer and my best part of my game is wedge play, and I just go hip to hip, boom boom, and I hit my wedges fairly straight. Like I feel like if Rory just hit his wedges like a little pitch, just
Yeah.
hip to hip,
Why does he
little
never
fluid
try
pitch shot.
something new?
He does a
It's
full
always the
swing.
same
He does a full swing,
every
full
time.
like around. He doesn't need to do that with a wedge, and it's always short. There's so many variables for you to miss hit a wedge when you're taking a massive turn and trying to hit it so hard. Just hit a little like flip wedge. Don't take it all the way back. I mean, this is probably not a real take, but it's just so frustrating because Rory is freaking Rory, and he's so bad with wedges. And you could say what you want about the numbers. When it matters the most, he does not have those clutch wedges. At least he has not for the last 5 years. And it's pathetic. It's truly pathetic. He hit so many wedges on Sunday. He won. There was a par 5, I think, he had to lay up, and there was a mound, like a little hump, an insertion of rough before the green. Hit it before it, where everyone was just stuffing it. I was like, "What are you doing?" And obviously the water. It's just very frustrating because I like want to see Rory thrive.
I think we might, like, the top of this leaderboard is a pretty strong strokes gained caddy takes,
Yeah.
because obviously Scottie and Ted Scott, that speaks for itself. Tommy gets his caddy back on the bag, and all of a sudden he's mixing it and mixed like the whole year basically. Decky's
Yeah.
caddy is always one of the best
Always.
caddies in the game.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about him yet, but quick shout out Vic Perez to show that dog on in front of the home crowd. That was sensational. After the round
Caddy
two,
wears no hat, so
yeah, after the round, Perez was like, they were like, "Is that the best you've ever played?" He was like, "Yeah, like that was insane. I don't even know like how I did
obviously,
it."
like, come on,
yeah,
bro.
yeah. But then we get Rory and Rom, who are like strokes gain negative, in my opinion, when it comes to caddy. So I think you could make some strokes gain caddy takes with this leaderboard. Nicolai, shout out to Nicolai. I think you were on him. He played well. T7. Tom Kim played his heart out. Devastation to see Tom so upset after the round. Obviously, he's still in line for potentially having to serve in the South Korean military. I think, though, from what I'm hearing, with the way that Sungjae and Siwoo got out of it last year, there's like some event, the Asian Games or something, where they can kind of rig it. So I think Tom will be okay in the long run. But obviously, he wanted to. Also, new rule, new flowchart type of thing. Scottie playing with Tom, nuke Scottie. When Scottie is playing with Tom, Scottie brings out an entire. We saw it at the Travelers. We saw it yesterday. Scottie paired with Tom.
They both played good though.
Yeah,
like
they both
of them
they
just
do.
take both their unders on scores. But for a second, I was like, I went to sleep on Saturday night because I wanted it to be obviously Scottie win, Nicolai or Hideki second because the way I bet. And I was like, damn, I feel like there's a world where Scottie like lets Tom finish third or something if like he's not playing great. I'm like, I just want Scottie to be balls to the wall. And obviously it didn't work out like that, but we saw how devastated TK was after the round.
I was on Day. He played good most of the week. He kept doing dumb
bet,
stuff.
dude.
He couldn't hit his irons to save his life, but he was putting amazing. All the guys I bet were like, I bet
Why did
5
you bet
guys.
that? Driver putter?
Yeah, and he putted. He led the field in putting. He couldn't really do anything else. I was on Dietz. Dietz played good. I knew Dietz had no chance of winning once he was up there, but at least Dietz was up there. And then Ludwig was always just kind of there. He never really was doing anything good or bad. I tweeted out Ludwig's final round, strokes gained dog. We've got some concerning things going on with Ludwig in the final round. Windy C battled back, represented the country reasonably well. Who would have, I didn't know, somebody must have calculated it. Our Danish combination of Thorbjorn and Nicolai strokes gained Viking Cup would have been very high up there in the combined scoring based on two guys finishing in the top 14. So shout out to the Danes.
Yeah, and the Finns were there through 36 holes, but they don't have the full round strength. But
yeah, shout out
shows what they have in them.
T35 for Tapio, like that's not a bad
dude. If you don't make that 9, he's gonna win. That 9 killed him.
So I'm proud of Tapia for being random Euro of the week. It was closer than we probably wanted it to be, but Shub Sharmas takes care of Gaghansheet Bular in the low Indian market. How was that sweat? How did you feel about that one?
It was definitely a bit sweaty, but then Sharp stepped up to 18 after bogeying 17. I'm like, all right, all we need because Bular 3-putt 18 after he was only down by 1. I'm like, all right, but Sharp's got 17, 18 to play. These aren't easy holes. Sharp's bogey 17, which is what I figured he would. 18 puts it at 6 feet. I'm like, this fucking guy has stones. Birdied it 1 by 2, and also.
How many Eagles did Sharms have? How many Eagles?
Dude, so many Eagles. Many Eagles.
Every time I would check a scorecard, he was just making infinity Eagles.
Shout out Sharms. Good week for him.
What I think also this is another perfect example of as soon as Colin makes all the sense in the world, you gotta fade him because has there ever been a time where Colin makes sense and he's actually played well? Never.
No, and I talked about this like pre-tournament. Like the courses that you think Colin would play better at, Ludwig has played better. And the courses that you think Ludwig will play better at, Colin will play better at. Just like two guys around like the same pricing. Like the big courses Colin's playing better and the shorter courses Ludwig's playing better. So yeah, just weird for Colin.
But overall, a great Olympics. Shout out to Scottie. Solidifies himself. Not that he needed to. It was always BK was trying to cause beef with me over my going into the round that Xander. If Xander had won the gold medal, to me it would have been so clear that he was the player of the year. I don't think it would have even been a conversation. Yeah. It would have been so straightforward. That doesn't mean that I was shitting on Scottie. It was just that's what I thought. And then obviously Scottie wins. Obviously Scottie's the best player in the world, regardless of what had happened. You take any given golf course, Scottie is the most likely person to win on that course. But just on results over the season up until yesterday morning, Xander, to me, had the more impressive things that I'll look back in X number of years and think about this season would have been Xander. Scottie, though, he says, guys, I'm the guy, and comes back and gets the job done, and it speaks for itself now, which is great.
Now that we're through the season, I think we have to give ourselves a pat on the back for knowing when Scottie's going to win or when Scottie has no chance. We've been as sharp as we don't really do that much, but we've been so sharp with knowing when Scottie's going to be firmly in the mix when he's not going to be. So
yeah, and I think this week was, like I said at the beginning, was kind of an example of we were both kind of right. I didn't think it totally made sense as a Scottie course because this is a course historically on the DP that was putting. You had to gain 4 to 5 strokes putting to win.
Yeah, they did that.
And guys in second, third, and fourth all gained over those amounts, and they were right. If Scottie doesn't go nuclear with the best round of the year in the final round, he finishes second, he finishes third. But you said the tee to green for Scottie, even with the putting emphasis at this course, and lo and behold, he gains 1.3, multiply that by 4, 5.2 more tee to green, and that was just ever so slightly enough to overcome the need for putting at this course. Really only Scottie can gain 5 more tee to green to win by 1 stroke, overcoming every sign that you need to make putts at this course to win, and the guy second, third, and fourth did that.
Also, I this is the first time I ever bet in the without market, and I kind of enjoyed it because there was never a point, even early Saturday morning, where I thought anyone besides the big dog was winning, ever.
Yeah, and I think I had, and as somebody who had, I just bet normally, but I had 4 guys at one point on Saturday
right there.
They were in the top 10, lots of guys who were right there, and never once did I think any of them had a chance to win. Day was the only guy who I thought if he could stay in the mix, Day at least has the dog to maybe do it. But yeah, when Tommy Dietz is your only guy in the mix going into the weekend
and playing great golf,
Tommy was second tee to green after the second round, and he was losing putting. And I was if you had told me Dietz was second tee to green after the first 2 rounds, I would have shot. He had a 5 or 6 shot lead. But that
Right.
leads us,
Yeah.
because I
But
believe Tommy Dietz is in the field this week at the
is
Wyndham,
he? Let's go.
which is exciting. As I said at the beginning, I think Wyndham's as straightforward of a course as you can get. Very rarely do I put together the trends and you have accuracy just like so high in importance. You got to play from the fairways this week. The winners of this tournament historically over the last 5 years, 4 of the 5 have finished 4th or better in accuracy on the week. Like, you just don't see that at hardly any courses. I think it's going to be wet this week. It's supposed to rain. That should make hitting the
The weather does
fairways even.
not look good at all.
Yeah,
Like, I can see them not playing because the hurricane's coming up in Florida.
yeah, looks troubling. It's going to be damp. When it gets damp at a place like this, get in the fairway and then just take dead aim with your irons. I think if anything, it's always spike approach, spike putting here once you're in the fairway. But if it is going to be wet, I think that would shift a little bit towards the approach play, just because if it gets wetter, they're going to put all these pins on slopes. We know Donnie Ross; he's our guy.
Yeah.
We know how the Donnie Ross greens work.
Oh yeah, we do.
They're going to put them on slopes if it's wet. They're going to try to protect it. And it's going to be those guys playing from the fairway and taking dead aim at the pin. I think, like I said, it's about as straightforward as it gets. Is that largely the profile you're going to be after as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be wet, hit fairways. Don't try to do too much off the tee. Once you're in the fairway, hit your wedges, middle iron's good. You could be aggressive in some spots, but you can also get eviscerated on some of these greens. Definitely some of the slopiest and more difficult greens to putt on tour. But this is one of the true courses where course history repeats itself. And if you play these style courses well, you can play them well going forward. So course history is definitely a good nugget this week.
Yeah, I mean, and there's very few courses, even the other positional courses, sometimes distance can matter, but like if it matters almost the least here as any course. Like the average distance ranking on the week for the last 7 winners here is 75th in the field. Like it's just a week where it doesn't really matter. You need to hit the fairways, and then when you do hit the fairways, you're going to kind of be in the same spot as everybody else. There's not a ton of opportunities to use power and distance to your advantage.
And especially if it's really wet, like guys are going to be able to stop any irons towards the flags.
Yeah. So even if you're hitting from 180 versus 160, like if you're a good iron player from 180, you'll take that. So yeah, pretty straightforward course, which is exciting because I think the last handful of weeks has not been as straightforward. And I think we also get a field this week where lots of different things can happen, kind of anybody's game type of field. We got Sungjae up top at 14-1. It is what it is. It's fair for Sungjae to be the favorite, obviously. He's played great here before. It's a Sungjae style of golf course, but we talk about it every time. Sungjae below 30-1, and especially at 14-1. I don't even look at it. It doesn't matter to me. It's as if it doesn't exist. It's as if Sungjae's not in the tournament, at least from an outright perspective for me this week. How are you thinking about Sungjae?
Yeah, I don't got to go crazy on Sungjae. Perfect course history, perfect style course for him. Great form. Makes all the sense in the world. You want to bet the 14-1? Be my guest. I will not be a part of that this week.
Yeah, and we're consistent on that. And as I wrote up, it's never done me wrong. And until it does me wrong, I have no need to overthink it. I'm sure he'll be.
I wouldn't be happy, but I would not be upset if we lose to a 14-1 Sungjae. Willie would just have another massive check. So good for him.
This is Willie could probably pencil in like at least 500,000 this week before like not him personally, he'll get 10% of that, but like he can guarantee Sungjae is going to win 500,000 this week before the tournament even starts. And that gets us to
buy whatever you want this week.
Yeah, he doesn't need to
play so much golf in Carolina.
He doesn't need to. He's going to be playing mid-pie. He's going to be everywhere. He's going to be slinging it around. Shout out to the people in North Carolina as well. I'm excited that we're getting back to North Carolina, a place that you and I now are always going to be high on. Lowry, Siwoo, and Billy. They're all 25-1. That's what's next on the odds board here, according to FanDuel. Shane, not sure he's played here often. Maybe he has. I can't remember. We know what he is. We know Siwoo's played here all the time, and Fox here repeatedly. Also true for Billy Ho. Billy Ho might have the best course history at Sedgefield. Yeah. It's like as good of course history that anybody has anywhere. Like it's insane.
Outside of Webb, obviously.
Yeah, it's insane how well he plays here. So they're all 25-1. Are you going to be giving any of them a look?
I can see myself getting to Lowry. This is just a course that makes sense for him. He's having a great ball striking last few months, and I just feel like he has more like high-end finish upside than these guys. Not that he can win, but no one really.
My question on Lowry would be like, why is he playing this event?
That makes sense.
He's 10th in the FedEx Cup. He just had like the most important tournaments of his year, the Open and the Olympics. Like, I'm not saying that I'm out on him.
I
It's
agree. No, I
just
agree.
kind of weird. Like that. Why would he care? And I feel like for Lowry, I only want Lowry when I know it really matters to him. You know, like
Yeah,
he's.
I agree. I don't mind the number though. 25 in this field is fine. A guy who doesn't win. So if there was one guy, I'd probably be him up here. But I like some
I'm not.
guys down the board, like right next underneath him.
I don't think I'm going to bet him just because it's too obvious. But I can't. Billy at Wyndham informed Billy. Like, I'm not gonna. I can't say anything bad about that. I don't know why he wouldn't play good. He wants to win every time he tees it up. He's got the dog in him. I'm glad that he didn't play 3M. I think he's rested. It's Billy at Wyndham. Not complicated, but yeah, 25-1, and especially because there are some guys as well further down the board that I also like. The next tier of guys here, Harman was 40. I took a look at that earlier. I really like Brian this week, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys here in kind of the 30 to 40 range. You can get 35s and 40s on most of these guys. Let me know who jumps out to you here. Harman, Cam Young, Jordy, Seabez, Shea. That's Akshay. People have commented. Sometimes they don't know who we're talking about. Akshay is Shea and will be going forward. Davey T, that's Davis Thompson, Minwoo, and Aaron Rai. Who's jumping out there for you?
That is going to be a very, 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 very popular range. 3 names that I like early. Let's start off with a bang. Cam Young, Akshay Bhatia, and Aaron Rai. I think those are names that I could get to. I have a very strong feeling that Aaron Rai will be the most popular golfer this week. I have also actually Brian Harman too. I really like Brian Harman. He's having a great little ball striking resurgence, and his course history is like boomer bust.
I sprinkled some of the 40 on Harman. He's already down to 30. I thought 40 was just that's too much. A great number. Harman would like his, and his ball striking is like as good as it's been in his whole career right now. He's hitting it really, really well.
He's found something with the ball striking, and like I like his course history. It's like T6 or miscut. So like, go for it, Brian Harman. It's a perfect course for him on paper too. And I like Harman.
I was just going to add quickly on Harman, something that I wrote up as like a key for the course in general is I like guys who putted well at Pinehurst because we haven't had a lot of Bermuda courses lately. Like we've had a lot of different types of courses, especially with the link season and stuff. We know Donnie Ross, and when we were at Donnie Ross at Pine, what did people say? They said Sedgefield was the most similar greens, and Brian Harman hasn't putted great this year, but he did gain over 5 strokes putting at Pine. So I like that. That was all I was going to add there.
Yeah, what's your take on Akshay? Because this course we've been gearing up for him all year. We definitely have to talk about him. We said Akshay at Sedgefield. I think this is the perfect storm for us because his numbers drifted a little bit back to where it somewhat should be. Like him being 20s is just like I don't think it's great in my opinion, at least not yet. And he's didn't play great in Scotland, which is meaningless to us. A learning experience. Go get your reps in Scotland. Now he's come back to a course where, he is long off the tee, but he mints fairways more than a lot of people, especially if it's softer. The balls are going to stop in the fairways. And then from there, middle irons and wedges. That's Akshay's game. North Carolina. He's from Wake Forest, North Carolina. I liked it a lot.
Before we get to Akshay, I did want to comment on Cam Young and say that I am, as always, out, and I'd be more out here than I could ever possibly be. Like this, none of the things that he does good are rewarded at this course. Like they're just not.
I disagree.
He can't gain the strokes off the tee that he normally gains, and he can't putt.
Okay.
So I don't.
He can't putt. He can't putt, but he will hit a lot of fairways. I think he'll hit a lot of fairways, and then he's so good on approach and with the wedges. Actually, no, we're not. I agree. Like Cam Young sucks. I don't know.
Driving accuracy is currently the worst that it's been in his entire PGA Tour career.
Okay, I'm not betting him. You're right.
I'll go. Like if he wins, he wins. I mean, he could. What he could do is like stripe his approach, and he'll still gain something off the tee. Like he can finish top 20. I'm not saying that Cam Young's going to miss the cut.
Yeah,
or play
he
terrible.
better finish top 20.
I just don't think at 30-1 that it makes much sense at all. Now, to be fair, he's probably been like 20-1 against these fields before, so at least it's a little bit higher. But I just had to be against Cam Young, and I hope
I like him on a course that he hasn't.
I hope you don't bet him. I really hope you don't bet him.
I like him on a course that he hasn't played that people don't like that doesn't scream Cam Young, but he's got the Wake Forest connection.
But I think that's like DFS. Like he'll probably be less popular in
all
DFS.
Right, yeah, you're probably
the
right.
Reasons that you're saying. I'm purely saying outright especially with all these other interesting guys who make more sense for this course. That was what I had to say about Kim Ng. But Akshay, he's interesting because you've been talking him up here most of the year. He obviously, when he's playing his best, does everything that you would want somebody to do at this course. He hits the fairways a lot. Like, he is as accurate of a driver as there is in this field when he gets dialed in. He can spike with the iron play. He can really spike with the iron play. And he can spike with the putter. Like, not all the time, but he definitely can. And he played better at 3M than I think the result shows. He just hit it in the water like way too often. But once
he definitely can't do that.
He when he was in the fairway, it was all good. It was one of his worst driving performances of the season. Like, I think that's a throwaway. We said the Open Championship was a throwaway. So I'm on paper, it all makes all the sense in the world. It is weird that his course history here is so bad. Like, I do get that. I get it that a couple of them were as amateur because he's from the area. So, like, he got into these fields, but he has missed the cut in all 3 starts. He has lost infinity strokes on the greens in all 3 starts. He has lost on approach in all 3 starts. So I don't know. I think the number is fair because Akshay is at 40-1 and he's been like 20s or low 20s against this level of field of late. So I'll definitely going to give him a look. It's just that course history to me is concerning. And I don't know if it's like he gets more pressure because he wants to play good in North Carolina or what it is, or maybe it was just he was an amateur and now it's gone wrong. But that'll be the hardest thing for me on Akshay, is just that course history piece.
Yeah, I know. I agree. And then no one's going to be perfect, but I think this, I mean, you would agree with this. Bet Akshay over a 16-1, 20-1 guy that is not going to win.
Purely from like,
if you bet Akshay and you get so many more guys on the card.
Yeah, no, if you just take out anything and you just say like purely like win equity, Akshay at 40-1 against this field, almost an auto like level.
What about, we didn't talk about him, but obviously Siwoo makes a ton of sense too. Won here before, he's got amazing course history, but 25-1 Siwoo seems not enticing either.
Want to know who else is a reasonable number at 35 is Davey T. Feels like a little bit of a forgotten man. I don't in the same boat as Cam Young. I don't think this is the right course for Davey T. Like, I think we need driving to be of more importance for it to be Davey T. He did gain across the board here last year and finished T22, not putting very well. So, like, I think he can finish top 10 just because he's really, really good at golf. But I don't know if this is the right course for him. Seabez at 35. You might as well cut off my arms and my hands if I bet Seabez at 35-1 in any tournament. Although it does, hit the fairway, spike with your approach, spike with your putting. Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world for Seabez. But
he won an MX, so
he did win the MX. He's never finished better than T37 here, losing off the tee every time. That would concern me a little bit from Seabez. Minwoo, not a links course, so that's going to be a no for me. And then what's the state of the union on Spieth? I know you've had your eyes on him all year trying to gauge when we might be able to ride with Spieth again. Let me say it right now.
Also, really quick on finish up Spieth.
Actually, I just had opened Spieth and I went, it's not terrible when I quickly opened it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want to touch on Davey T before I talk about Spieth, because I want to ask your thoughts on Davey T, because we saw Davey Rye obviously win the Zurich, which is a real win that everyone knows is a real win, and then he lost his game. Davey T posted his 2 worst approach weeks of his season after he won. I'm hoping that was just a Scotland thing. Hopefully,
my take on all guys with the link swing is if they played bad, you just can let it go, because it is it is like entirely different golf. The links and Sedgefield are about as far different courses as you could really draw up. Besides maybe hitting the fairways, that's probably the thing that I would want to see across both of those. But yeah, I think Davey T bounces back this week. It's not like he played terribly. He made the cut in both of the links events with no links history. So I think Davey T is legit. And I think against these types of fields, he's just better at golf than most of these guys. But yeah, Spieth
down, and he could put that on your Ross. Spieth, I'm scared of Spieth. I'm scared to but I don't think we should bet him, because what do you have so many questions with the off the tee, with the approach, and I don't trust him over a 5-foot putt.
I'm out. I don't think I'm going to bet him. I do think the tee to green is looking better over the last month or so. It's definitely improving. And when it was really bad, his around the green was just absolutely horrible. And that's never been Spieth. And I think that had something to do with his wrist injury. So if he is getting healthier, ball striking wise, I see it. Like it's starting to trend back in the right direction. But yeah, it's the putter. And we saw JDC, he had one good round. He like got fire in there. I think he probably has a round or two. He could be first round leader just out of the blue. Speed plays well, but I just don't see it right now over 4 rounds. The guy that'll be mega popular, he's 40-1. I don't hate the number considering that he was like 25-1 and near favorite in these types of field a couple weeks ago. Makes all the sense in the world. He hits the fairways, Jers. He spikes with his approach. He's learned how to putt recently. Is Aaron Rye. He hasn't played here before, but I'm sure he's going to be mega popular. I'm sure that would mean you're probably out. But what's your Aaron Rye take this week?
Yeah, he's not missed a cut since April. Is playing great golf. It's a perfect golf course for him. Not really a winner. Not really a guy who just does it. But like he's 50-1. It is a great bet in my opinion. I'm assuming he's going to be really popular, so I probably won't bet him. But there's nothing bad to say about Aaron Rye. He answers every question that you want to do well here. So no beef with Aaron Rye. Could be some decent chalk in DFS because he's been chalky in DFS and this came through. Winning is a totally different ball game, but I think at 50-1, there's a lot worse bets to be made than Aaron
Rye. Yeah, he is 40-1. I will say.
Oh, 41. Sorry,
40. You're still down
at
40.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the top of the board range from 40 and below, like you could very easily have 2, even 3 guys from this range, and I assume that a handful of these guys are going to be the guys who are squarely in the mix most of the time. I think it's wide open enough, and there's guys further down the board that are also of interest, but I do think this range is very playable because how often do we get a week where like every guy in the field is above 25-1?
It's live.
And I think we have that here. Some weird numbers in the 50s, like Tommy Dietz, Bobby Mack, and Nicolai all at 50-1. Doesn't seem great to me on those. I've been betting Keegan every week.
Those are bad numbers?
Yeah, 50s on Dietz. I mean, they're usually like against these same fields. Nicolai's been like 100 this year, and so has Bobby Mack.
This field's pretty bad. I think Nicolai should be 40-1. Like, he's so good. And Tommy Dietz has been mixing more than anyone.
Never forget that they didn't let Tommy Dietz play in the Open. We can't let any Tommy Dietz.
I lose sleep over it every night.
If I had to pick between the 3 of them, I'd probably go Dietz.
If Tommy Dietz if he found something on approach, he could be world number 1.
And he's been hitting his irons nice.
Yeah.
I'm not yet. I'll take it back. I still think the numbers are bad on Bobby Mack and Nicolai. Like I'm not as sold on Nicolai as you are. He did putt here here last year, but I'm worried about his putting. And I also think this is another course where like what Nicolai does best is slightly diminished with his distance. But and then in Bobby Mack, it's not a national open, so I have a hard time thinking that he will. If this was the North Carolina Open, then I might be down for Bobby Mack. But of those,
that's at Mid Pines, I heard though.
Yeah, it is. But Dietz striping his irons and putting T21 here last year or last year.
And it's a par 71, right? Or par 70? 71. So that takes away a par 5.
That's a good point. Yeah. How do you think Dietz? He's used to traveling back and forth between Europe and the US.
Abu Dhabi and he'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
He'll be right.
I don't hate it actually in retrospect. Anybody else I mean, there's a variety of interesting names. We got Kurt, Harry Ings, Mav, Vegas off the win, Posty 66, Rose 80, Keith Mitchell's finally 60s. He's not 20s anymore, thank God. Yeah. Your boy Zal's in the field. He's broken, but who knows what he could do. Home game for him. And then Nick Dunn's 80. Any of those are all names, I would say. Like
there's all have names.
Who of those do you like?
I like a little bit further down Ben Griffin. He's plays like great on short Bermuda, and I assume he'll get hammered though. Out of that range you kind of just mentioned, Gim was close to popping, but he was oddly popular last week or at the 3M pseudo home game for him. Yeg showed good signs. I'd probably go with Gim or I don't know. What's your thoughts on Keith Mitchell? Like, is he going to pay off anything? Because we both bet him too much this season, and he's finally hit his irons poorly once. Because we might have cracked the code that his stats are fake because they were too good all season long.
He just sucks too much at putting that I can't possibly see.
No, he's unserious,
and he's never played well here before. He'll gain off the tee, but like I think I'm good there. What is the
also
state of the
like
union
Taylor
on
Moore?
Zell? What is the state of the union on Zell?
I like that it's a North Carolina event. He's played it twice. I think he finished like T20 around there both times, but he has not broken the top 70, I think, since the Masters, something like that. So it's not great. It really isn't great. This is not really a course where it screams Al. The number, I guess, is fine, but really, if he was also 100-1, no one would really be surprised. It's tough to see. We're North Carolina. He does putt well on Donnie Ross, or at least better. I don't know, dude. That Thursday on Travelers has me hyped. That's all I'll say. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's
Because he did win Travelers. So
I think it's a classic. If you took the name Will Zalatoris off of this and called him something else, it would be never even considered.
horrible.
And it's not like Zal has dog, in my opinion. So it's just there's
Or
not
makes sense on a course like a short course where you have to hit 20 under. Yeah. So yeah, no Zal.
Who are you hyping up before I asked about Zal?
Timor and Mike T. I like those. You get to Red State, you get to a Donald Ross plus Red State, Taylor Moore, Tiger Woods. He plays so well at the courses that he plays well at. Taylor Moore is one of the true course horses. He's a young course horse. I could see Taylor Moore being like a Webb Simpson, got course history here in Detroit in his career when his career is over. And then Mike T, similar take to you play Ludwig on Colin courses, you play same vein there. Mike T on a short course has done well there. That's Michael Thorbjornsen if you don't know who Mike T is. So yeah, those two guys I like.
Which of these unserious golfers, but they're kind of the same style, do you like better this week at 75 to 1? 70 to 1. Denny or Cole?
I bet Denny here last year at I think 25 or like 29, something like that. Cole, I will never ever win. Denny can accidentally win one time. He can accidentally win an event in his career, but Cole can't. So I lean Denny. But when Cole plays well, he plays well. Like he'll backdoor T8. Like Denny, I think could accidentally finish runner-up and find himself in the playoff. I would say finishing position. I would go with Cole. Like finishing position.
Yeah.
I had to pick matchup,
like I mean, I think
I
think after John Deere, I declared that Cole has 0 chance of ever winning on the PGA Tour. But
okay, I'm glad you're in there with me.
I'm not totally out this week because he was T6 at Rocket, T7 at JDC, and then he made the cut at both of the. He finished T31 at the Open and T46 at the Scottish. We saw him there. He was striping in the practice rounds. So he's your boy. I don't love it, but like Cole at 70 is really no different than a lot of these guys who are in like the 50s or the 40s. Like he's
I agree with that take. I mean like you're not getting a lot of good golf, but I think there's some money to be made. Maybe a little bit down the board with some lesser proven names, which you could take some shots at. But so I would probably prefer going down there.
What's the state of the union on BSB Novak?
From like the outside, I feel like people think he's unserious, but he's coming off of this is fun fact. BSB Novak. This is the second straight Donald Ross course that he's came into off of his best career ball striking performance. He did it at the Rocket, and he played okay, putt well, and he did it here. But this is also the site of his second worst putting performance ever. And he tweeted at me, told me not look at his Wyndham putting. So I don't think he's confident on the putting greens, but I think he'll stripe a true BSB.
Home game too, right? For him, he's a
he's a South Carolina guy. Yeah, he's a Panthers, and damn, I'm gonna.
There's 3 Canadians here. Let's do random Euro of the week and let's include the Canadians in it. Because right at 100, we've got Hadwin, Svensson, and Hughes. We also have Seamus at 100, who's a guy that we've had our eyes on for a lot of the year. Matty Walls is 100. Nick T is 100. Thor's 100. Matty Schmidt off of a solid performance is 100. Anybody in the random? Ben Silverman obviously makes sense here. He's 175 to 1. Any of those Canadians popping out at triple digits? Because we know all 3 of them can mix and win.
I'd prefer to go towards the random Asian of the week and talk about Chan Kim or CT Pan. I think those guys can make some noise. So if I had to pick one random European Canadian, it'd probably be Svensson, because he's been playing 3 rounds of golf every single tournament he's played and has 1 round that he just can't hit the ball. So I'd go with Svenny. And this is a course that makes sense for Svenny.
But Chan Kim is your official random international player of the week selection.
Yeah, he had a bad
even though
week.
Chan Kim is
He's
American.
from California, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, I genuinely didn't know that. Chan Kim is American, so he doesn't count. You're gonna have to pick somebody else. But you're high on
Oh,
Chan.
fuck.
You're high on
Yeah,
Chan in general this week.
he was like 30-1 in 2 straight weeks, and then he was popular the second week. He was 30-1, and he played very subpar. But I like Chan Kim. He's got a very high end ball striking ceiling. Like he can gain 8 ball striking in a
What
week.
about
So
Rico Ho? What's he like?
uh
He's been playing good.
yeah,
He's a
and then
punter.
the he was did he putt again? Putt well again at 3M?
Basically flat. Like not bad, but
Okay.
he lost a little bit. But it
But
wasn't
that
terrible.
was his peak in like popularity, and then he didn't play well or didn't play great. Wait, what did he finish at 3M? If you don't mind me asking.
Rico Ho was T67.
Okay, yeah, that he was playing great before then. He had like mad top tens out before then, and he got a little chalky. A good flop leg bounce back spot for Rico. Not really for me because I can never trust his putter. And I was so close to betting him at the 3M at like I think he was like 50-1. I was like, if I bet him at 50-1, he will not. He will just turn back to his old self. So probably got to be out on Rico for the foreseeable future.
My random Euro of the week is a man who you play on short positional courses, Jorge Campillo. Jorge
Oh,
Campillo,
where's
250 to
Camps
1.
been?
He's not been playing as bad as you would think. He made the cut at both the Scottish and the Open, T26, T43. He was, of course, T4 at Myrtle Beach. No one will ever forget that. And if you can finish T4 at Myrtle
Yes.
Beach, then I'm down for you this week. So I like Camps this week. Another guy who you never know what to expect from him, but he could play good here is Davy Skins. He is 250 to 1 as well, random Euro. Another guy who's 250 to 1 who was super popular somewhat recently and played well at the JDC. Carson Young, 250 to 1. I like Carson this week.
Driving act, he will hit fairways. He will definitely hit fairways. He's 250-1. I think is a great bet because he wants it. He needs it. He knows how important every week is. Also, last year chart and 38-1 was Alex Smalley, and he disappointed. This year he's 100-1. Obviously, still is a bad number, but he's coming off of the best ball striking performance of his season and third best of his career, heading to his home course. He plays at a Sedgefield, Duke Blue Devil. I can see Smalley being relevant.
Yeah, you bet Smalley in opposite field events and at the Wyndham. That's all you do with him. Why is Matty Nee off of a T2 at the ISCO, the Baked ISCO, and a T9 at the 3M? Why is Matty Nee still 250 to 1? This course would make sense for an informed Matty Nee. Hit the fairways and get hot with the iron play and the putter. So that number doesn't make a lot of sense to me. A guy that we both were on at the 3M didn't go great, but I'm not afraid to go back to him here because this is a course that would make sense for him.
Buck?
He did make a hole in one at the 3M, which was sick. I'm willing to give Hayden Buck another shot this week.
You play Hayden Buck when driving accuracy is really important, and I'm down for it. I will bet Hayden Buck this week. But
here, quickly, I'm going to list off to you the top 20 or like some guys who just are random, but they fuck at hitting the fairways.
Okay.
Ben Coles,
Ryan Moore, Ben Coles. Yes, Ben Coles. I was going to say him. Ben Coles. I'm betting him this week.
He what was Ben Coles' number?
I don't think it's great. I think it's like 70.
That would be insane. No, it's 125.
Oh, okay. Down.
Has he played here before? Yeah, a couple times, but that's whatever. Zach Blair. You never know when Zach might spike.
This is practice for the Utah Championship, though. That's what worries me.
Speaking of the Utah Championship, I think you saw my tweet. Phillips. We're up and coming guys. We keep our eyes on.
How old is he? Like 20, 21, 22?
He's like 21 or 22. He's the next guy up from Australia. He's next man up.
And he's the next Stanford, right? I think he went to Stanford, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot to like there.
Yeah, he's trying to be better than Mav.
What about B. Todd or Lucas Glove? I'm not out on Lucas Glove this week.
I knew you were gonna say this. He
played terrible at the Open and at the Scottish, but like I said, I'm willing to throw those out. At Triple D's, he was playing good before that. He was T23. I was on him at the JDC. He played good. I played good at Schwab. Like he's played good on the courses that you would expect Glove to play good at. He was fine at Heritage. He was good at Valero and Valspar. I don't think he's going to win back to back, but I think we can. I'm not basically worried about Glover's performances at the open courses because it's
Yeah,
different.
I like Brendan Todd though. I do like he's coming off of his best approach week since April, and he's got 2 top 10s in the last 3 years here. And you play Brendan Todd on the courses that make sense for
Yeah, I
Brendan
like that.
Todd. And like I told you this take before, I overheard him saying like I really only like to play courses where I know I can contend at, and this is definitely one of them. So like when he's dialed, he's as dialed as anyone.
Yeah,
First
I
round
mean,
leader, he can mix for sure.
Todd at 100. I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, I do. Be Todd.
Yeah, B Todd. You've been keeping your eyes on Ches. I know you've been trying to see if Ches might be up to
I bet
something.
him
Do you think
last
this
week.
could be a spot for him?
There's not many better spots for him, so sure.
Yeah, so sort the go to data golf and just sort by accuracy. That's the step one of the
Ryan Moore
process.
is 65 to 1, which is an insane number.
No,
But
he's 65 to 1 Ryan Moore.
wait. I could be
There's
wrong.
no way. He's
Sorry, no,
200.
sorry. 150. Okay,
Yeah, I was
sorry.
gonna say like he was obviously my guy. I grew up playing his golf course, and if he was in the 60s, like I would have
Yes.
had no choice but to bet him because it would have made so little sense that like the books would have had to have known that there was some sort of secret Ryan Moore like sauce this week. Now he does always play well here, and I remember when I had TK here, Moore was like in the final group or was up there, so I
I bet him
appreciate
that. I bet him that year. And he wore the skeleton hat. He still wears that was like one of the first weeks he wore the skeleton hat. I was like, this guy's sick.
Oh, one more guy who hits fairways and is completely random golfer. He could finish last, but he also could easily win at I think he's triple digits. Austin Eck at 110
Oh
to
my
1.
god, yes. I
Hit the
would
fair.
dude,
He
you undersold him. He's not completely random, and he could definitely win.
just his short game. He only tries with his short game like extraordinarily rarely.
Bermuda
It's like
though.
yeah, and he just gained. He missed the cut because he lost in legitimately infinity strokes around the greens, but he did gain in just 2 rounds 4.2 putting at the 3M. So he snapped back into form with the putter. His around the green is
100 to
terrible,
1
but
that code is crazy.
if it's soft and he just hits every green, then he could win.
Yeah, he could pop with the approach. I down for Echo.
So overall, a fun week at the Wyndham, the final tournament of the year. Who are the guys who are right on the cusp of needing
Top
to
70 and 125. Those never really work out in like the outright markets. It's got to be just someone coming in and like at who's like 55 and just like playing golf. The guys who are really need it, like no,
Yeah,
they don't
the
win.
right on the line. Wow. B Todd is here's 65 to 70. I guess the guys who are probably like 68 and above are probably good, but 69 is Seamus, 70 is B Todd, 71 is Vic Perez, 72 is Davis Riley, 73 is Putz, 74 Kurt Kitt, and 75 is List. Glove is 76, so Glove needs to be focused in this week if he wants to get. And then at the 125 mark, oh, this guy I didn't even mention. This is perfect because this is actually a guy who I think is one of the best bets of the week, and I didn't even mention yet. JJ Spawn. I know you've been high on JJ this year as well. He is minting his irons. He hits the fairways. He can putt sometimes, and he's never played well here before. But that might be this might be the time for JJ. I saw he was triple digits, and like he's hitting his irons as good as anybody in the entire field.
Yeah, I bet Spawn the last 3 events, so I got to keep going with that.
And
Because if I don't, he will win for sure.
And that was the Glover angle last year. Was like the only Glover was just striping his irons and hitting the fairway like crazy, and that was just enough to beat Russ, who was like the top guy who fit that mold too. So I think like
down.
Grab a couple guys from the top, not necessarily the full top, but like 40 below, and then just load up on guys who hit the fairway and can either spike with their approach, or spike with their putter.
Let's do it. Cards out. Wednesday.
All right. Yeah. Get over to the site. Yeah. That's the Wyndham. That's the Olympic recap, Jers. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you later.
Peace out, great show.